Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Got the new one from Wild Turkey on the bar. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Wild Turkey 101 8-year. So here we are with another 101 proof Wild Turkey product. This one, 8-year age stated. A little bit of history. It used to carry the 8-year age statement, then that went to international only, and now it's back, and this is supposed to be a regular shelfer. A little hard to find at first, but I am starting to see this show up on the shelves regularly now, so I think that their promise of having this as a regular right beside the old school 101, I think is gonna come to fruition here, because it does seem like it's showing up now. So, getting into the specs here, there's really, it's 101 proof, 8-year age stated. I'm sure there's probably a blend of maybe some older barrels in it as well. As far as I know, I think that's the case. The standard Wild Turkey Shelfer 101 is said to be a blend of 6 to 8-year barrels. So let's see as a standalone review of a $45 bourbon, how this stands up. And then we got to talk about the comparison to regular 101, which we'll get into a little bit later here. But let's get into the nose on this to start out with. On the nose, it's nice and rich. It's actually got a really great nose. Rich and bold, everything that you love in a Wild Turkey product is really jumping out of the glass here on the nose. A little bit of that rye influence, actually. I know Wild Turkey is said to be high rye, but I think it's like 13%, which I don't really consider that to be high rye, but it used to say high rye on the old school 101 labels. But there is a little rye spice and maybe a little clove jumping out of the glass here, more so than I remember on previous Wild Turkey products. But the nice, rich sweetness, the barrel influence, and then that kind of Wild Turkey cinnamon note that I tend to get off of their products is there, and it's really nice. There's a nice rich brown sugar note. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the palate on this one. Let's get into it. Cheers. Pretty damn good, actually. Not gonna lie. As you can see, I have drank a little bit of this bottle, so this isn't a first time tasting for me. Truth be told, I actually already filmed this review and then my audio crashed on me, so I am filming this review for the second time here. But I did notice when I first got into this, I felt like there was a little bit of a drop off from the nose to the palate. Like the nose felt a little more rich and bold, and then the palate kind of was a little bit lighter than I was expecting. I'm not really having that experience right now, and so I think that that was maybe just in that moment, the way a bourbon hits you at a particular moment. But yeah, on that first sip, everything from the palate, or the nose transfers to the palate. It's a standard Wild Turkey flavor profile, obviously. And the thing about doing a review of this is, if you like Wild Turkey 101, you're gonna like this. It's at the end of the day, it's not that much different as far as, it's got a little bit higher age. Going off of memory from the 101, I would say this is coming across as a better quality bourbon. But that being said, it's still well within the Wild Turkey 101 flavor profile. So if you know what that tastes like, you kind of know what this tastes like. Just picture it a little more refined. At least off of that first sip. Let's get into the second sip here, see what happens. Yeah, that's a solid bourbon. As a fan of the Wild Turkey profile, I dig this. There is the question, I think, that needs to be asked. I kind of look at these products coming out like the 70th anniversary, this one, the Kentucky Spirit, the regular Shelfer. It's kind of like, is Wild Turkey just getting an awful lot of mileage out of just kind of slightly tweaking their standard Shelfer bourbon? And I think that's a conversation to be had. Now, I know a lot of people really love the 70th anniversary. I thought it was a good bottle. I just thought it was a little overrated because it lost to regular 101 in a blind with me twice. And so, that's just me. That's just my palate, I guess. I know a lot of people said on that one that it came across as a little more, a little less rough edges. And I think when I did it in the blind, I think the rough edges on the 101 Shelfer is kind of what I actually liked about it. I like a little bit of a sharp edge to my bourbon. So, you know, that could be the explanation for that. But the reason I bring that up is just because this is another Wild Turkey product that plays within that same the same set of rules as the Shelfer 101, except it's slightly older, but it's double the price. And so, you know, I think there is a conversation to be had there as to whether or not, if another distillery released products that were this similar, but of such varying price points, would people support that? I don't know. But that's for another video. At some point, I'm gonna do the full lineup of this, the 70th anniversary, the Shelfer, and the Kentucky Spirit. But we'll get into that at another day here. Let's go in for the last sip here. Cheers. So after that last sip, I decided to bring in the Shelfer and do a little bit of a side-by-side. That last sip came across a little weaker to me than the previous two, but, you know, who knows what that means. But, you know, I feel like at least doing kind of a preliminary comparison between these two before getting into the flight with the other ones is probably a good idea, just to kind of compare, you know, quality versus price point. So no water in between these because they're damn near the same bourbon, so I'm just gonna raw dog it. I've already had a couple sips of this. I'm gonna get into the regular Shelfer 101 here, see what happens. Off that first sip of that, there's definitely a difference. I don't know if it's a double the price difference, but there's a difference. This one, I'm getting a little more of a grain note, kind of a little more of a corn sort of a note, which I don't mind, to be honest. But it doesn't come across as well refined as this one, in the sense that the age, I think, does stand out a little bit on the 8-year here. Let's get another sip of the 8-year. Yeah, I think the 8-year definitely drinks like the better quality bourbon, for sure. I don't know. I will say this about the 8-year. As $45 bourbons go, this is a good one. It drinks every bit the quality of a $45 bourbon, for sure. For me personally, if I want to get the Wild Turkey 101 flavor profile, am I going to pay the extra money to have it a little bit better than the Shelfer? I don't know, to be honest. I really just don't know. It's a close call, but in this initial tasting between the two of them, it definitely does come across as the higher tier bourbon. There is just a little bit of, I don't want to say youth, because I don't feel like the regular Shelfer Wild Turkey is like underaged, but you do get the difference in age, I think, because that grain corn note is definitely there, which again is not necessarily a bad thing. So again, standalone as a $45 bourbon, you can do a hell of a lot worse than this for 45 bucks. So yeah, that's a recommend if you like Wild Turkey products. I would pick this one up. But yeah, going forward, if I'm just in the mood for some Wild Turkey at 101 proof, am I going to spend the extra money for a $7.50 versus, you know, half the price for a liter? I think it just depends on what I'm going to do with the whiskey. You know, if I'm looking for just a nice 101 proof, neat sipper, you know, maybe I would pick this one up. But as I'm filming this right now, it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm probably going to be crushing some drinks outside by the fire. And for that purpose, I'd probably just go ahead and pick up the regular Shelfer, because at the end of the day, the regular Shelfer Wild Turkey 101 is also a damn good bourbon, especially for the price. I don't know that it's still kind of the king of budget-friendly bourbons for me. It used to be. I know Wild Turkey 101 was kind of the go-to, like, best value in bourbon for budget stuff when I first got into the game. Just me on a personal level, I would give that to Old Forester 100. But, you know, what do you do? To each their own. So anyway, let me know in the comments, folks, if you guys have had this one yet, if it's showing up in your area, if there's price gouging going on, and if you've done the comparison, what you think. I suppose I will do the blend. I mean, we still got to follow the rules, right? There's more than one bourbon on the bar. I have a feeling this is going to taste a lot like Wild Turkey 101. Let's get into it. Tastes completely different. It's a whole new bourbon. Tastes nothing like Wild Turkey. I'm just kidding. Tastes like Wild Turkey 101. It's good. So yeah, this is a good bourbon. I like it. I'm looking forward to the to the blind. I borderline hope this wins because I got trashed so bad for the Wild Turkey 70th anniversary, not winning in the blind. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think the regular 101 can put up a fight in a blind of the other kind of higher tier Wild Turkey 101 products. But you know, we'll get into that in that video. Anyway, folks, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. This has been Wild Turkey 101, 8 year on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. We'll see you on the next one.